And what about gun owners who take his advice? Attorney Rachel Self says that the sheriff can do this, but Attorney Anahita Saragatpar says, no, he cannot. Rachel, you think he can? Why?
Yes, he absolutely can, because the president can't tell state law enforcement officials what to do. And the state law enforcement official is totally within his right to say, these are your laws, you enforce them. The federal authority is who should be enforcing the federal law, and guns are regulated by federal law. So the sheriff is not acting against the law, he's not doing anything wrong by saying that he will not enforce federal law. And we see this all the time. We see it right now in Colorado. The law is directly in conflict, state and federal, with marijuana. The state officials do not go out and arrest people under the federal law that marijuana is illegal. The same thing would happen here. And the bottom line is what he's doing is not wrong.
Anahita, you think it is wrong?
Well, I mean, first let me start off by saying it's not for me, you, or even this sheriff to decide whether or not these proposed laws are constitutional. That's best left for the court system. And I certainly believe this sheriff has great intentions, but at the end of the day, it is not incumbent, or it is not the law enforcement officer's duty to determine constitutionality of laws. And I actually agree to a certain extent with your other guest that it's the feds are not going to require these states to enforce the laws. The onus is going to be on the federal government and the FBI, and they're the ones that are going to get in and enforce these laws if they are enacted. And we have to also remember, finally, that federal law is the law of the land. Bottom line.
All right, but if that law of the land isn't very clear, and this sheriff in this particular case, I think Rachel is saying, I think that is not the law of the land, and I think that is breaking the Constitution.
Well,
is that fair game?
Yes, it absolutely is. And at this point, what you're doing is you have that all take oaths, federal and state alike, that say, I agree that I'm going to uphold the laws of the United States. And what this sheriff, his specific words actually had to do with high-capacity magazines and banning types of weapons. And at this point, that would be unconstitutional for an executive order to come out, which an executive order isn't going to come out that says that. None of these 23
But is any executive order constitutional, whether it strikes you as fair or not?
Oh, absolutely. Article 2 allows for executive orders. It happens all the time. Washington,
so even if
Roosevelt,
they're goofy
Eisenhower,
executive orders,
W.
they cannot be dismissed. Anahita, what do you think of that? Because the president just issued close to 24 of them today.
Yeah, I agree. Executive orders are fine. They're constitutional. I don't believe that Obama is going to issue an executive order banning assault weapons, assault rifles. But
well,
Neil,
he did
what kind
everything
of message?
but today. He did everything but.
Well, I agree, but Neil, what message are we sending to the public, to society, when we are basically saying that we're going to leave it up to the law enforcement officers to decide what laws they want to enforce, what laws are constitutional, what laws are not constitutional?
Well, because according
We'd
to
be
this
living
sheriff,
in an utter state of chaos.
they just changed the game mid-game. They just changed the rules mid-game. And what this sheriff might be saying is, look, I knew the law and I knew the Constitution before the president of the White House started changing the rules midstream. Isn't that what he's saying?
Well, and it's not up to him to make that determination, Neil.
That's not what he's doing. I don't believe that that's what he's doing.
What is he doing?
What he's doing is he's saying, look, these are federal laws. It's your job to enforce them, and this is nothing new. This happens every single day in every single state.
So you think the sheriff, Rachel, was within his rights doing what he's doing? Anahita, you do not.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So Anahita, you would sue the sheriff, but Rachel, you would not.
I would not.
Well, I think that it's up to the federal government to decide how they want to deal with this sheriff or any other law enforcement officers that believe that state law trumps federal law, or that it's up to law enforcement officers to make a determination that's clearly best left to our court system and ultimately the Supreme Court.
All right. Well, that's punishment one way or the other, right?
Well, Roscoe P. Coltrane isn't going to come knocking on your door to take your gun away right now. I mean, that's just not going to happen, okay? At this point, it's going to be the ATF, or it'll be the FBI who determines whether or not they should be bothering to come to your door and take your gun away. And if it ultimately becomes law, which at this point it isn't, these are just executive orders which enforce already existing laws. If it ultimately becomes law, then yes, you can get in trouble for violating the law.
Well, I thank you as a lawyer for bringing up Roscoe. That was one thing I did not expect. But,
He's my favorite.
Ladies, I want to thank you both. I appreciate it. In the meantime, forget whether these kids